Let's really dive into this whole smart money thing that EasyCoin.AI is all about. I bet some of you are wondering, is this just, following any trader who made a little bit of profit?
Yeah, exactly. How does this AI actually figure out who's smart money? Does it look at how long they've been trading, or maybe how much they're trading, or like, I don't know, even their like social media following?
It's a little more complicated than that. Smart money usually means like big institutions, hedge funds or people who have a real track record of beating the market. Think of them as like the top athletes of the trading world.
Okay.
They've got the skills, the experience, and often they even have inside information, right? That gives them an edge.
So it's not just about getting lucky with one trade.
No, not at all.
It's about being successful over and over. But how does EasyCoin.AI actually crack the code? How do they figure out what these smart money people are doing? It's not like they can like sit next to them and watch.
Well, they kind of do something like that, but in the digital world. So the AI looks at tons of data from the blockchain, looking for patterns and how these traders are acting. So they might track when they make trades, what kind of assets they're buying and selling, and even how they react when the market jumps up or down.
Okay, so it's like they're a detective working on a puzzle, but instead of looking for fingerprints and clues, they're looking at this blockchain data and these trading patterns.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. But even if the AI can like spot these smart money moves, how does it actually copy what they're doing? Is it just doing the same exact trades?
It's more advanced than just copying, right? The AI is
Yeah.
actually trying to understand the logic, the thinking behind those trades.
Right.
It's kind of like learning from a really good chess player.
Yeah.
You don't just copy every move. You try to understand why they're making those moves.
Uh-huh. Okay. So it's not just blindly following. It's learning how to play the game, so
Yeah.
to speak. Okay. So let's say the AI figures out a smart money move. Does it immediately make that trade for everyone using the platform? What if some people want to take more risks or have different goals?
Right. And that's where you come in. You get to set up how much risk you're comfortable with, and the AI works within those limits. So it might make the trade a little bigger or smaller, or even decide not to make the trade at all if it's too risky for you.
Okay, so it's like having your own personal financial advisor, but one that understands what you want and what your goals are.
Exactly.
I like that. Let's talk some more about Solana. We talked about it being fast and having low fees, but what else makes it good for something like EasyCoin.AI?
Well, Solana is really good at handling those tricky transactions that happen a lot in DeFi. It can do thousands of transactions every second, which is super important when you're trying to make trades quickly.
Yeah, you don't want to miss out because the blockchain is slow. So Solana's speed could be a big advantage. But what about security? We all know there are a lot of hacks and scams happening all the time with blockchain. Is Solana safe?
Solana has a good reputation for being secure. It uses a special way of doing things called proof of history that's really hard to attack. It's like having a timestamp on every transaction that you can't mess with, so it's super hard to cheat.
That sounds pretty secure. But let's shift gears a bit. We've been talking a lot about AI and smart money, but let's be real, no system is perfect, right?
Mm.
Are there downsides to letting AI make trading decisions?
Yeah, definitely. AI is a powerful tool, but it's not magic. One problem is that sometimes, it's hard to tell exactly how the AI is making its choices. It's looking at all this data, but we might not know exactly why it's making the decisions it is.
So it's kind of like we have to trust it, but we don't know how it works. That could make people nervous, especially when it's their own money on the line.
For sure, for sure. And another thing is, these AI models are trained using data from the past, right? But the market is always changing. Something unexpected could happen, like a big crash or some new law that changes everything, and then the AI might not know what to do.
So it's like starting for a test using old exams, but then the teacher throws in a bunch of new questions you've never seen before. The AI might not be able to handle that.
Exactly. And then there's also the human factor to think about. Even with the best AI, people still need to understand the basics of trading. They need to be realistic about what they can expect to earn and be smart about managing their risk.
Right.
AI can be a great tool, but it shouldn't replace good judgment and doing your own research.
Excellent point. So AI can make us better traders,
Yeah.
but we got to be careful and understand its limits. So
Yep.
let's zoom out a little bit here. We're seeing more platforms like EasyCoin.AI popping up. They're saying they're making these fancy trading strategies available to everyone.
Right.
Where do you think this is all going?
Well, this is where things get really interesting. You see, in the past, these advanced trading tools were only for like the big players, the institutions, and rich people. Platforms like EasyCoin.AI could change that. They could give everyone access to these strategies that they never had before.
It's like giving everyone a seat at the table instead of just a select few.
That's a good way to put it.
But you know what they say? With great power comes great responsibility.
Mhm.
Are there, like, ethical things to think about? Or risks that come with having AI in our financial systems?
Absolutely. One big concern is that these AI algorithms might be biased, right? If the data that's used to teach them is messed up or incomplete, then it could lead to unfair outcomes.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
We have to make sure these AI systems are fair and transparent.
So it's not just about the tech itself. It's about making sure the data behind it is good and fair. What else should we be worried about?
Another thing is transparency and accountability. As these AI systems get more and more complex, it's harder to understand how they're making decisions. And if we don't know how they're making decisions, it can be, kind of scary, especially when it comes to our money.
It's like, hey, just trust me, but you have no idea why.
Right, exactly. This is why we need clear rules and ethical guidelines for AI in finance. We need to make sure it's being used responsibly.
That's a great point. It seems like we're at this really important moment with AI in finance. There's a huge potential for positive change, but we also got to be careful about the unintended consequences.
For sure.
So where does that leave us? What should people listening take away from this conversation?
Well, I think the main thing is to remember that AI isn't just some buzzword.
Yeah.
It's really changing the world of finance. And platforms like EasyCoin.AI are just the beginning.
So it's not a question of AI will be a part of our financial lives. It's how do, and it's up to all of us to stay informed, ask the tough questions, and make sure these new technologies are being used in a way that's, fair and transparent.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, let's move on and talk about EasyCoin.AI's security stuff in more detail. They say they've got a unique approach to security that tackles a lot of the problems in DeFi. Stay with us as we finish up this deep dive into the world of AI-powered trading. All right, so let's get back to EasyCoin.AI and dig into what they're doing about security, right? They say they've got a different way of handling things compared to those old trading bots, especially when it comes to keeping your money safe. So what's the deal?
Yeah, they're not just, throwing around fancy words here. Remember those PDAs we talked about? That's a big piece of their security
Like that
puzzle.
sale box thing, right?
Exactly. With a PDA, the AI can make trades following your instructions, but it never actually touches your funds.
Okay, so the AI can, like, put stuff in the mailbox, but it can't take anything out. Got it. That's pretty smart. But what about the platform itself, How do we know EasyCoin.AI is safe and we can trust them?
Well, they had their program checked out by BlockSec. That's a big deal, right? It's like getting the thumbs up from the security experts in the crypto world. But they didn't stop there. They've got some other cool features, too.
I'm listening. Tell me more about these extra security measures.
One thing they do is use these multi-sig wallets. It's like a safe that needs multiple keys to open it. So if anyone wants to change something in the EasyCoin.AI program, they need approval from a whole bunch of people. No one person can just, take over.
Okay, so it's like checks and balances to stop anyone from doing something shady. That definitely makes me feel better. Anything else?
Yeah, they also have this thing called a 72-hour time lock for any changes to the program. So let's say someone wants to make a change. They can't just do it, right? They have to wait 3 whole days. This gives everyone time to look at it carefully and see if there are any problems.
Wow, a 72-hour time lock. That's pretty serious. They're really committed to transparency and security, huh? Seems like they've thought about every little thing that could go wrong. But I still have to ask, is my money really safe in DeFi? At the end of the day.
It's a good question. And honestly, nothing is ever 100% safe,
Yeah.
right? There could be some hidden bug in the code or something that even the best security experts missed.
So it's like having that super secure house, but forgetting to lock one little window.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good to remember that, right?
Yeah.
To stay alert even when things seem super safe.
Absolutely. And it shows that, we have to keep working on security in DeFi. It's not a one-time thing. It's a constant process.
I hear you. Okay, so we talked about a lot today. We started with the basics of EasyCoin.AI, how it uses AI to maybe make you some money, and all the security stuff they've got going on. But let's zoom out for a minute, right? Think big picture. We've got AI, DeFi, and this idea that everyone should be able to use these fancy trading strategies. What do you think about all of this? Where do you see it going in the future?
It's a really exciting time to be watching all of this happen. In the past, these tools and strategies were only for the big guys, the institutions, the people with a lot of money. But now, platforms like EasyCoin.AI could change all that. They could give everyone access to these things.
So it's like everyone gets to play the game now, not just the people with the most money.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always another side to the coin, right? What are some things we need to be careful about as AI gets more involved in our money?
One big thing is bias in these algorithms. If the data used to train the AI is biased or incomplete, it could lead to unfair results. We have to make sure these systems are fair and that everyone understands how they work.
So it's not just about the tech itself. It's about the data behind it and making sure it's all good and fair. Anything else?
Another thing to watch out for is this black box problem. As these systems get more complex, it's hard to understand how they're making decisions, and that lack of transparency can make people uncomfortable, especially when it's about their finances.
It's like, trust me, but you have no idea why you should. And that's tough, especially with something as important as your money. So what can we do to make sure AI is being used the right way in finance?
Well, I think we need to work together and have open conversations about it. We need experts from all different areas, tech, finance, ethics, and the people who make the rules to come together and figure out some guidelines for how to use AI in finance. And we need to include everyone in these conversations, not just the experts.
Yeah, it's about the people, right? It's about how this technology affects our lives. So going back to EasyCoin.AI, it looks like they're trying to do some of these things right, like with those multi-sig wallets, the time lock, and giving users control of their own money.
I think so too. They seem to be taking this seriously, prioritizing security and transparency, and that's a good sign. But in the end, it's up to each person to decide if a platform like EasyCoin.AI is right for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we covered a lot of ground today. We explored what EasyCoin.AI is all about, how it uses AI to maybe help you make money, and all the ways they're trying to keep your funds safe. It's a wild world out there with AI, DeFi, and all these new ways to trade. But remember, it's always changing. So stay informed, ask questions, and make sure you're comfortable with any decisions you make about your money. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into EasyCoin.AI. And until next time, keep exploring and learning. There's a whole world of finance and technology out there waiting to be discovered.